Welcome to Michigan in Focus. I'm Bruce Walker, Great Lakes Regional Editor for the Center Square. And with me is the Center Square's Michigan and Minnesota correspondent, Scott McClellan. You filed a pretty interesting story, interesting to me at least, having once spent 20 to 25 years living in Detroit or in the Detroit area. And you got the idea to do a story that entailed sending out a lot of Freedom of Information Act requests, and it is what have been the payouts from the Detroit Police Department for various and sundry reasons. And I can attest to that because I actually had the Detroit police pay me back for totaling out one of my vehicles way back in the late 80s. Give us a little bit of background. What inspired you to do this story?
I wrote a similar story analyzing Michigan City's police payout settlements between 2018 and 2020. And I wanted to update that story between 2020 and 2023, counting because so much happened. There were a lot of police protests. I think in a couple settlements alone, Detroit police paid out millions over summer 2020 protests. So I wanted to compare Detroit, Lansing, Flint. I wasn't able to get all of Flint's records yet, and just kind of see if those numbers had increased or decreased compared to from 2018 to 2020.
What have you discovered?
In Detroit, they increased greatly. So from 2018 to 2020, Detroit Police Department paid out about $18 million in settlements. But between 2020 and 4 months into 2023, they paid $56 million in police settlements. So that's a record amount in recent history, but public officials haven't responded to me asking about that increase. So it's an increase of nearly $40 million.
Well, they've been going through a lot of turmoil as of late, as you and I both know, related to a police commissioner who was caught el flagrante delicto not too long ago, and it has sent the entire city topsy-turvy. So
that police commissioner resigned, I believe it was last week, but it kind of left everyone in a lurch. At one point, on one hand, you have $56 million of police payouts, and on the other hand, you have a police commissioner or a former police commissioner who doesn't seem serious about his duties. So I guess what is a police payout? You mentioned it earlier, but it doesn't necessarily admit guilt or wrongdoing. It could be an accident. So it could be, for example, a police cruiser hydroplaning into another person's car. Taxpayers would probably pick that up. It could be police kicking down the door of a wrong apartment. It could be a lot of things. And they don't necessarily admit guilt or wrongdoing, but if you have a city with continual high police payouts, that could indicate problem officers who regularly violate people's rights and abuse their power.
Okay, well, fair enough. But how does Detroit's payouts compare to other Michigan metropolitan areas?
There are a lot more, but Detroit is one of the bigger cities, so I guess that can be expected to some degree. Grand Rapids paid out from 2020 to 4 months into 2023. The city paid out $102,454. Lansing paid out $115,000, and East Lansing paid out $380 for a damaged bicycle.
And that was for a damaged bicycle.
Yeah, that's the numbers they gave me. So pretty crazy spread there between $56 million and $380. But listeners might understand better when they see the reasons. So of the new 209 settlements I obtained from the Detroit Police Department's settlement records, 5 payouts totaled $42 million in compensation. And that's for wrongly imprisoning people who were incarcerated for a combined 132 years.
Sure, and that there's actually state law that covers how much they must pay.
Has to pay out. It's what, $50,000 per year.
$50,000 per year.
I mean, how do you measure a year of your life? your earning potential, what you're going to do with that. So it's pretty tough. But yeah, I reached out to Detroit police commissioners. I reached out to Detroit city council members, lawmakers representing Detroit, and the mayor's office, but none of them responded to a request for comment.
Okay, well, Scott, do you have anything else to add about this story? What's next?
I'm hoping to get Flint's police payouts, but it's going to be a long slog with that one.
Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. I'm Bruce Walker, Great Lakes Regional Editor for the Center Square. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.